What is up, guys? I'm going to do a video on how to replace a charging port in an iPhone 6 from Brett's Cell Phone Repair. Just kidding. What I did was I didn't have a charging port, but I've been doing this long enough. I've accumulated quite a few parts, so I just took this out of an existing iPhone 6 that I knew was working. And I'm just using that iPhone 6 for parts, so I've already taken the charging port out, but you would normally just purchase the new charging port. So let's go ahead and get started. So we will take out the two pentalobe screws on the bottom here. One. And two. And everybody has probably their own method to separate this. You can use a suction cup. I just do this. This one there's no adhesive because it's a 6. The 6S has adhesive, so it makes it a little bit harder, but I just kind of make a little gap with my screwdriver, my flathead, and then take my guitar pick and go around the edge of it. Like so. And then gently lift it up. The top of the screen goes like so. Let's see, I'll show you. Goes like that, sits down like that, so you want to pull it kind of out that way, and then it will just lift up. And you don't want to go any higher than really a 90-degree angle with this thing. So then we take our small Phillips, unscrew these two screws, this plate here that is covering the battery connector and the charging port connector. So there's the second one I'm taking out there. Two screws right there and right there. And then we're going to go ahead and take our plate off. I'm going to double check to make sure I shut this off too. You don't want to work on your phone when it's on. I usually just click the home button a couple times and just gently tap the power button so it's off. It would be a wise decision to unplug this. So I'm going to unplug the battery here, right here. I've replaced this battery on this phone too, which is why there's that piece of tape right there. So those are two connectors right there. This is the one for the charging port right here, and the one for the battery. So I just unplug both those there. And we want to start taking this beast apart. This one has quite a few screws in it, so if you're not feeling up to it, I would suggest taking it to a professional, such as myself. So we're going to take out the vibrator here, which is this right here. There's one screw there and one screw there. Okay, and we're going to start taking out some of these bottom screws here, all these down here. There's going to be 3 on the, or 2 on the headphone jack, and then 1 down here for the microphone. So I'm going to do that. There's 1. And 2. And 3. And with this one for the microphone, there's a little plastic bracket that holds the microphone in place. Right here. Make sure you hold on to that, put that next to the screw you just took out so you know where that goes. So I just took out these 3 screws. That one, and that one. I'm going to go ahead and take out, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. I'm going to take out all those next. And there's two. When you take out the top two, there's this little plate that holds on right here. This plate comes out when you take out those top two screws. So make sure you put that in the right place so you don't lose track of that. I'm going to go ahead on with the rest of my screws that I just pointed out. What I've already gone ahead and done and I haven't shown in the video is I tested that charging port, this one. I temporarily hooked it into the motherboard here. So I clicked it in like so, and then hooked it up to a charger to test it to make sure that that was the issue. Because customers wouldn't be happy if you replaced the charging port and charged them for it, and nothing was accomplished. Oh, so I should probably show you. So make sure you test your charging port when you buy it off wherever you buy it. So I remove these 6 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the loudspeaker now, which is this black thing with the metal plate. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 screws right there. Okay? One, 2, 3. Oh, that one's stuck. I'm gonna have to get my tweezers to get that one out. And 4. Make sure you take this out. Come on. Let's see. There we go. Tricky thing about this job, or any job working on cell phones, is not to get frustrated, because the first time you get frustrated and you try and do it frustrated, you will break something. Trust me, I know by experience. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this little deal right now. This is just a small, tiny little connector, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop it up gently. There we go. Got it. See? Now I'm going to go ahead and lift up the loudspeaker after we've taken out our 4 screws there. And I'm keeping the screen on. I've done this many times. I would suggest taking the screen off, which you'll take out 5 screws here and lift that shield up and unplug the cables. Which actually I'm going to go ahead and do. That will make my life a lot easier. Let's do that. So I'm going to remove these 5 screws here in the shield, take off the screen. Okay. Alright, so take off that plate there and go ahead and pop up your connectors. There's one for the home button, front facing camera, right there, and then the 2 for the screen. 1, I hope you can see that, and 2. So we can get that out of our way now. So now we can take off the loudspeaker here, which should just lift up like so. Make sure it doesn't get caught on this connector here. and move that out of the way. So let's look at this thing. Looks like I've gotten all the screws out of it and it's ready to be lifted up. This is held down by adhesive, so you just want to peel it up. It's already torn, which is okay because this thing is no good anyways. And then this microphone's held on by adhesive. You might just want to lift that out. Might make your life easier. Like that. Just get that thing off like that. Okay. There, it's out of there. Junk. Oh, let's not forget that piece right here too. Alright, now you're ready to put your new one in, which we've tested and know works. So I'm going to try and do this so you guys can see. There's still some adhesive from here too, so make sure there's adhesive on your microphone so you stick it back in. I'm going to slide my headphone jack down in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and line up my microphone. Stick that on there. There's a tiny little probe or a little prong right there that you want to line your microphone up with, and then once it's lined up you can stick it down. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of push down on this charging port right here. Slide that into place and then make sure my holes are all lined up and go ahead and stick it down. Just stick it, you know? Just stick it. Okay. So now we can start putting our screws in. I'm going to start with my little plastic bracket for the microphone. And there's also a little prong down here that this thing lines up with, so make sure you line that up first. There's that. And get our screw. Kind of came out. There we go. Like that. Sure that's down nice and tight. So that's how it's supposed to look, like that. That little hole right there there's a prong there that needs to be lined up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna do my 2 top screws for the headphone jack. Right there. And right here. I have a problem with over tightening, so I just like to make sure they're snug. Just be careful that you don't over tighten, or try not to. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my 2 screws down here, closest to the charging port. One and 2. And then I'm going to do my second set of 2 up here. Actually, first I'm going to put this on. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I just want to make sure that sometimes you have to put this on first before you put the screw on. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't jumping the gun, making sure that I don't need to put that speaker on first. So there's the next set of 2. 1 and 2. And then as I put on my 3rd set, make sure you put this metal plate back where it goes. Which it goes like so. There we go. Okay, and 2 screws go into that. Remember, I'm doing it fast because I've done this multiple times. I'm extremely comfortable doing it. If you're doing this for the first time, don't try and match my pace. Okay, we can do our vibrator too, which is this, goes right here. Oh, right here. And how you know when you're lined up there is there's another little prong right there that you need to line up your vibrator with before you put your screws down. And there's 2 screws that hold this in. There's 1 and 2. Just making sure they're tight. And go ahead and put our loudspeaker in next. That goes right here. Okay. Make sure that's lined up and don't pinch this cable. Don't get that lost. Oh, you know what we lost? There's a little tiny little thing that holds that right here. It must have fell off somewhere. It's not that big of a deal. Go ahead and put that back down. And put this on. There's 4 screws that hold this down. 1 right there. 1 right here. And then 2 up here. Which I can tell something's off. This doesn't want to go down. Oh, you know what I didn't do? There's a little piece on the top of this speaker that has to slide underneath the motherboard. Okay. Take that screw out. That's the one that got stuck last time. Okay, there's those 2. So there is, where am I looking here? Right there. There's a little tiny, that needs to slide underneath the motherboard. Looks like it doesn't really need, it doesn't slide underneath, it just kind of sits up against it. So this time I'm going to do the top 2. I'm going to do this one. And this one. Which normally there's a little bracket thing that holds this. If you notice when I took it off, there was a little bracket that kind of held that wire in place. It's not 100% needed, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it without it. There's your other 2 screws. Okay, now this is the little bit of a tricky part here. This little tiny cable is going to plug into this port right there. See if you can see it there. So you're going to try and plug that into that port. Make sure that you're fully lined up before you start pushing pressure on it. It may take you a couple tries. I'm going to try and do this. Okay, I think that's in. Yep, did you hear that snap? That means it's in. And normally we'd stick that to our little bracket piece right there, but like I said, it's missing, so we're just going to go ahead and do without it. But that should be it. It should be fully installed. We can plug in our charging port. I'm going to wait to plug in the battery until I got everything else on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my screen back on with my 4 connections. Plug down the first one. Make sure you're fully lined up too before you push it down. They snap together, and I'm kind of just moving it around. Oh, see, like, it's not fully snapped down, but you kind of move it around until you can feel when it's there, and then push it down. I hope you heard that snap, but I know it's hard to see, but I'm kind of moving around my ribbon cables. There we go. That one snapped. And sometimes they don't always snap, but you can feel them when they get pushed down. So that's all good. Now we can plug in our battery. I'm going to put this screen back on, or the shield, not screen. And then put my 5 screws into the shield. There's one. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. Just gonna recheck the tightness of my other ones. And here's the last one, 5. Okay. Battery's plugged in and the charging port's plugged in here. We're gonna put our plate back on. This can only go in one way, so that's the correct way when it looks like that. And then I'm gonna put my 2 screws in. Kind of line it up. Okay, that's it. We're gonna go ahead and put our screen back down. A good thing to do would be to test this before we put it fully together, but I'm gonna just go ahead and snap the screen down. There's a way to do this. You wanna make sure that those brackets on top slide into the top of the metal frame, like so, when it's flush. So it kind of goes into the frame like that first, and then you can go ahead and snap the screen down the remainder of the way. Everything's nice and flush, everything's together. We have no screws left over except for the 2 on the bottom, which we guess we can go ahead and do that. There's 1, 2. There we go, and there we go. Okay, everything's good, beautiful. Now let's go test it out. There we go. Try and do this one hand. There we go. Ta-da! There it is. We just replaced the charging port in that. Beautiful thing, isn't it? Easy, right? I'll tell you something. If it was easy, everybody would do it. One thing I like to make sure of, though, is when it fully comes on, to make sure that it's charging, and it shows that it's charging in the corner. So, see that lightning bolt? Means it's charging, it's recognizing a charge. So, successful fix. Alright, good luck, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. You know how to do it, baby.